Okay, you can hear me, everyone? Cool. I was asked to ask you that if you have any questions, please use this rightmost button in the front of you in the console.
Testing.
Yes, that one. And after you ask the question, please turn off the mic after that. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Jussi Talaskari from University of Jyväskylä. New person to the Plone conference. Been using Zope since 2003 and Plone from 2004, so I know something little bit about it from the olden days at least. But first, a few words on our University of Jyväskylä. It's not the largest university in Finland by far. It's like third or fourth largest, 14,000. If we count in the open university student, it's something up 30,000, so decent amount of people at least. We got some money and we got a little staff for doing things. How many from you are from university context or some higher education? Okay, I feel for you people. Okay, thank you. Always nice to be in such a relaxing environment in some things. And also from the University of Jyväskylä also comes a couple of other superstars, Asko Soukka and Riku-Pekka Oksanen, also my colleagues in the university. We are all in the same unit there. A few words about myself. I began my career in the university in 2001. And my first jobs, what I was doing is kind of testing video conference systems and maintaining RadVision MCU. I don't know if MCU says anything about anyone. MCUs are with those old kind of H.323 video conferencing systems, video conferencing units where you can multiple stream to that single system. And they were hardware devices and they cost like 2 cars or something to have. Nowadays you just have a server and use Teams or whatever and do the same thing. I was involved in the National Virtual University project. That was actually the project where I got the money for my first years in the university, and they basically did the things that we are now trying to do again, so things will go forward in some time. Around 2004 and 2005, me and Riku-Pekka, we did the university website with Plone, kind of for the first time. That was kind of a strange project because the mandate was something like, okay, we need a CMS for our website. Does anybody know how to use anything? Okay, and me and Riku-Pekka had done the virtual university project with Plone, and we just said, okay, we've done something. Okay, here you go. And then we just did the university website. Times were different back then. One other interesting project I was involved in 2016 and 2019 was this Tesla project. I think if I can get any browser looking here or not? No? This is actually not my laptop because my laptop had a purple screen there, so it didn't really want to work the correct way, but okay, the browsers don't like to work. But it's an interesting biometric identity system, so when you get the slides, you can check this out. It's released as an open source. It has a face lock detection and voice detection, mainly used for exams and things like that in the university surroundings. So check that out also. And my current position has been working as systems architect since 2018. About our unit, we have a centralized IT services, about 100 people. We have 3 separate organization units. We have the customer service people who take care of workstations, applications, work on the service desk, help desk kind of things. We have infrastructure guys who take care of the network servers, and there is these development services, which I'm part of. And there are a couple of coding teams, something 2 to 5 people for each team. And we also do LMS support. LMS in this case is learning management system, like Moodle is Moodle. Anybody knows about Moodle? Yeah, if you're from university, you will know about Moodle. Yeah, also a great open source project. And also our unit does some CRIS support, like CRIS is a current research information systems, like where all the publications and research projects are being kind of administratively kept the information. Yeah. And one of the things that we are doing nowadays is we are running a digitalization program, not a program like in software, but program as an university initiative, we call it called Duo, and it's based on scaled agile framework. And if anyone want to ask more information about Riku-Pekka, is the perfect guy to ask about that, because he's the release train engineer for this whole safe thing. And me and Asko are kind of the systems architect and engineering roles. If you look at this picture here we can see the kind of the positions that we are in. Riku-Pekka is this guy here, and me and Asko are kind of the first people, a couple of people here. And the main idea about what the safe is that kind of development effort is being split in the 3-month cycles, which we kind of designed beforehand, what we're going to do in the next 3 months, what are the priorities, and then get our customers to get their input and get our customers to have a fight with each other that what is actually important for us to do, and things will go smoothly after that. So that's a little bit about the background about our university and things like that. But now in the real subject of the talk about the video capability. So what do we have in this moment in time? Well, we have a Moniviestin, is our current video portal. Its first version was written by myself and Riku-Pekka using Zope and Darwin Streaming Server in 2003. And the Darwin Streaming Server might have been kind of a risky proposition at the time. The real media was strong back then, so everybody was using Windows media server or a real video server. But our kind of main focus at that point was, okay, what's kind of the standards? What the standards are going to be? Okay, an MP4 was kind of the new thing that was coming, and the Darwin Streaming Server was pretty much the only one that actually supported the MP4 format at that point. So we went with that. We streamed it with real-time streaming protocol and using QuickTime, because the QuickTime was the only player at that moment that actually worked with it. We went a couple of years with that, and then we migrated to Plone 2.1 in 2007. Nothing really fancy about that step in particular. The Zope version was horrible, written completely through the ZMI, with horrible security. Actually, anonymous people could delete pages. I didn't know a thing about doing anything securely. That's why perhaps I'm in the architect position. No, probably not that one, but anyway. We did Plone 4 migration to that site in 2010. That's actually quite early, and that thing uses dexterity content types, would you believe it? Yeah, the dexterity was something like alpha at that point when we started using it. Yeah, that's kind of the main idea and how we develop things, because we have guys like Asko, and we can do strange things. Well, actually, we didn't use the dexterity quite the way. We kind of like inherited the dexterity classes for our own types. It might not be the correct way to do it, but we didn't know back then, so great about that. But if I believe correctly, you might be able to use it that way. Migrations might be painful, so we don't go there at that point. So, well, I'll go later what we're going to do next for that. But one thing which we did in the with 2012, we kind of did the back end modification or haul, and we used asynchronous messaging with the RabbitMQ. And in that time, if you look at some of the packages that came out, like CollectiveZ, AMQP, and stuff like that, they were kind of the things that we figure out at that point. How do we do AMQP messaging in such a way that we can actually get the message to look like an HTTP request in a Plone side? We did those kind of cool things back then. And it's still useful today. If you want to integrate RabbitMQ to Plone, I think the collective AMQP is a good way to do that. And RabbitMQ is a cool piece of software. You just install it, have it running, and it will not fail. If you have some problems, it's most about your code, I think. The server itself is reliable as hell. It's a great piece of software. If you just keep it fed with disk and memory, okay, that's a kind of disclaimer on that. If you have those, it will just run. And we had a presentation in the World Plone Day in the 2013 about our modernization being 10 years old, and I have an image for that, which I really like this as an inception idea, that I'm giving a presentation this modernization system in 2022, looking at an image where me and Riku-Pekka are looking at the modernization site at 2003. So when this video comes out, it will be really great, because then we have kind of a 20 years of time span in a single slide. So I think it's very cool. Too bad it's not 2023, because it would have been nice 10 years, but this kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, I've been talking about being a video portal, but what about audio? I don't try to talk anything about audio, but in my technical perspective, audio is a video without the image. So, if just looking at the technical side of things, so okay, the use case and things are different with audio. You can actually listen it with your headphones when you are talking. Video is not such so great. You will bang your head on a wall on kind of lampposts and stuff like that if you try to do it. Some people can actually watch with their cell phones when they are walking. I don't know, but anyway. What I'm thinking is basically, okay, there's MP3 files, which are a kind of thing with the audio world, but more or less it's pretty much the same thing technically to manage it. One of the later developments which we did was integrating. Oh, there's no. Yeah, soon. We did an integration for Gallicast, the lecture recorder. It's also an open source project, because lecture recording is a kind of big thing. Kind of what I'm describing as a vampire way of doing digitalization for the education, because okay, the lectures are already happening. How do we kind of use that to create new digital content? Okay, you just put the lecture recorder in the lecture hall and capture that recording, that the lecture that the teacher is giving out, and have that as a recorder. And this has become a kind of a assumption for all the lectures in our university. Of course, they are available online after they have been kept. And it has started to kind of change also the way how teachers use these recordings. They kind of may take their own lectures, kind of they do them beforehand as a recording, and don't even have the normal lectures for the students, and have them kind of doing face-to-face meetings in another time for kind of different students, and use the time more efficiently. One thing that came in 2020 was the European Union's Web Accessibility Directive, which gave the mandate that you need to have an captioning for your videos in 2 weeks after it has been published. So that kind of led us doing automated captioning system for our money-wasting. And we have now like 30 terabytes of video accumulated during the 20 years. So it's like that. Basically what happens when we upload a video, now we're going to the more technical parts of this thing. In our architecture, we have a kind of shared secret between Plone and one of our microservices called M3 Upload, where we have we sign the URL from Plone so that the upload component will accept the file actually to be an invalid file. And it gets posted to the system. It will be notified by RabbitMQ that there's a new video, and it gets through a little bit analysis that what's the length of the file, what's the geometry of the file. And after we get that information, we'll get it in RabbitMQ as a message. We don't actually move the media through the RabbitMQ. It's just a file in the file system in an NFS mount, where we just point that, okay, there's the file, and you should now encode this thing. And we will encode it as an 1080p and 720p and 360p and MP3 formats. So here comes the video without the image part, which is now the MP3 file as the audio, which we are pulling out there. And we are just storing them to a NAS system. I think it's Dell EMC Isilon or something like that at the moment. It has gone through a couple of iterations of NAS systems in this time also. And we are streaming it with HTTP live streaming, and we are using Vovsa streaming engine. It's not an open source project, but it's completely wonderful streaming server if you want to use it. It is very well kept in time. It supports latest standards, and it's quite performant. It's written in Java, but you wouldn't believe it. It scales quite nicely, and it's not too expensive, so it has been really good for us. Because we also do live streaming and video on demand, so we also need that capability there. So that's one of the reasons we also use this Vovsa. Yeah, and how the captioning is being done is kind of triggered with a webhook from Plone to Jenkins. I don't know if anybody is using the webhook add-on for Plone. Did we actually publish it or anything? It's a nice thing. You can attach it kind of that when there is a state change in Plone, you can then trigger a webhook somewhere else and have things happening with that. And that's a kind of a sweet way to integrate Plone just about anything with just the webhook stuff. So it's pretty cool. Simple but cool. Okay, that's the stuff that we've been doing thus far in the past 20 years. And now we're kind of in a crossroads at what should we do now. And okay, there has been these talks that should we actually dump the whole thing and just buy from use a ready-to-build service that we will upload our videos to that and go that route. That's one of the possibilities we might go. But then we go into a situation, okay, we have 30 terabytes of video. Do we really want to migrate those things to some cloud service? How long is that going to take, and how much it's going to cost to actually host that amount of video? It's not going to be cheap. And with that money and our experience, I think we can still make a competitive video service for the future also. And we kind of started thinking a little bit differently about the video. Not just this simple service where you share the video, as more as an capability in a way that how does the video work in different kind of contexts in the university, and how do we build a system that can support these different kind of contexts. I have an example here for kind of the learning context. Is like the question is, how do you learn to build a log house? How do you do the learning process on how to build a log house? The olden days, you just hit a book and read about how to build a log house. That's how it's traditionally been done in the learning sector. But nowadays, more and more, it's about looking at the video about how to build a log house. And actually, we could look at here how we actually could build a log house. We have a nice video here about building a log house here.
Strengthen the door and window. Here, the T-shaped dowel pin is made of one log, just as it used to be.
So after you have watched this whole 25 minutes of this video, you would know how to build a log house, everyone. So yes, good point for that. I don't actually know, this might not be the newest video in the business of building log houses, but I don't think the log houses even are one of the newest inventions. So I think it's appropriate to have this kind of presentations for it. But you get the idea how the learning has kind of changed. If I just can escape this video. Okay, now we get into the subject, what I mean when I talk about video capability. And the capability term kind of comes to the enterprise architecture things. Anybody familiar with enterprise architecture? Mumbo jumbo. Okay, there are different kind of models on how to kind of structure your enterprise and how to lead it efficiently, and what kind of structures do you need to have there. And looking at through the capability is one way kind of looking at it. And what I see as a capability is the organization's ability to utilize video across different processes and functions to add value to customers. Kind of how I try to kind of summarize what I mean by it. And how the capability would manifest itself is like what we have nowadays quite a lot. Online means video on demand, live streaming, plus the service models that support those things. Because the service models is probably the thing that quite many organizations will fail. They will buy some platform, okay, and they start the platform and they start to think, oh, what the heck, why doesn't anything happen? We have this very expensive system, we should now be at top of the world and do video and things. But what they usually miss is that they need kind of service structures around those services, kind of teaching how to use those tools and how to support those situations. And also just technology, how the people should get the webcams and things like that. They actually can use the thing for that purposes. So it includes the technology and people's ability to use them, and that's kind of important thing. One of the things why we've actually survived with our old Plone video system so many years is that we have a support mechanism beside the system. We have a kind of media support group, a video support group that can actually support the teachers for creating the videos and lectures and have the support structure around. And that kind of, we have loads of same kind of universities in Finland which don't have this kind of aspects, and they have gone through so many different video platforms and always wonder why this doesn't work. And always the thing is they don't create the kind of support structure for the system. They buy the thing and then they don't create the support structure for using it. And I just find it very silly. Here's kind of what Gardner has to say about these capabilities, how it kind of fits into this whole image, if you want to look at it. The capability models is something to look further if you kind of want to find the kind of largest object on an enterprise level, how it would fit. But basically, this is what I mean when I'm talking about capability. It's also the people, the technology, and the support for the system. And now we get to the main topic of this particular conference. Why is Plone a good fit for the video platform and also a part of this video capability? And one thing, nowadays I'm not that much of a Plone guy. I'm a 10 different project kind of guy, looking different kind of open source projects and systems and things like that. And Plone is one of those things in the map which I'm looking at. Okay, it might be one of my first loves in the systems because one of my earlier career things was about Plone, so I will look at it a bit more closely. But there are genuinely real things why it's a good fit in a video platform. One basically is the Volta front end. And the ability, it's no page reloads. You just can't do a proper video site if the page will reload at some point, because it will cut the video and start playing again. You need a front end that is a one-page app that will remain there and the video will keep playing and other things will happen there. And basically, what I'm thinking about the technology available, Volta is pretty much the best thing to have around there. So it is really a kind of one-page app. The magic happens most on the front end, and then you have the back-end APIs for doing stuff. And that's really how it now fits in this our video picture. This is Volta front end. This is kind of the vital part for us to have working here. And what we have, the kind of vision of the original modernization system, it's kind of multimedia publishing. You can have a text there and video there and audio there. And what I think now that with Volto and its block system, we can actually now get there. We can really make these multimedia presentation publishing what we thought about 20 years ago, in a way. And how it would look like would basically be a video upload block with upload functionality there. Now you can copy-paste the YouTube URL for the block. But what if you just could push your file there or say that, okay, capture my screen and put it there? Have it work in this magical way that all the magic would happen in the background and it would get on the service. Kind of disclaimer also, this whole system is kind of work in progress, so I might actually invent something up right now. So please keep notes that we can get these things done if I say something meaningful in these slides. And the REST API is also important here, so that all the management functionality is available via the API. That is also a vital part of it. Because in this new, all this streaming environment, it's something that you just can't do with Plone itself. It doesn't have all the necessary pieces to do the streaming, because you need the streaming servers, you need the encoding systems, and stuff like that to make it actually happen. Also, the hierarchical permission model is quite nice for university. We have the faculty level, department level, organization unit level, and the Plone's way of looking at it as a hierarchy makes it quite easy to handle those kind of permission requirements. Otherwise, it would just kind of be linked to a certain person and her or his permissions on the video. But usually when we are talking about an organization, there's some other aspect that will kind of set what kind of permissions need to be and who owns this video. The video might not be owned by a person, but a piece of organization somewhere. And also, one of the quotes from the olden days, I think it was Mikko Ohtamaa who said something like that. It's a single feature that it can do anything about Plone, so I put it also here. So we also know that, okay, we can make it to do anything if we actually want it to do. So we know that there's no kind of restrictions there if we really want to. About a couple of things to reconsider. 30 terabytes of video data. I probably wouldn't want to put them in a blob storage and put that whole stuff through the ZOP application server. I think there are better solutions for that in the moment of time. And what that causes when the media is kind of outside of the blob storage is how do we handle the deletion of the video? We probably don't want to delete right away when we press delete, because we now have the transactional history and we can undo the stuff. And okay, it's gone from the disk. What do we do now? So it's kind of have to be in the garbage collection. We mark it for deletion, and when we do the packing for the database, we will actually then delete the data. So it's kind of sync. Even if it's an external storage where we store those videos, we will want to happen at the same time when we pack the database, where the metadata is kind of connected to the data. Here's the new software stack for the new architecture. The big reveal, no. This is still work in progress also. What kind of piece do we use? Well, Plone is obviously there. That's not going to change. And what the Plone kind of does is the front-end stuff, the content management, and the authorization things. Who can access what? Who can see what? Who can upload where? And those sorts of things. And Plone is good for that. But then we have other pieces which are equally good at what they do, good I think. One of these is a key cloak. It's an open source identity management solution which does OpenID Connect, it does SAML2, it's LDAP connectors, whole bunch of stuff for using as an identity provider for the system. We can also in university environments, we have a couple of big SAML2 federations like EduGain and national systems where we federate identities between universities, and so that somebody from other university can log in to our system with their own organizations credentials. So we're using that, and we can also use Keycloak for doing that. We have our own Keycloak instance in which we can federate identities from our own main identity management system and from other organizations' identity management systems, and provide the necessary tokens for the new video streaming platform to work. For storage, we are using Minio, at least at the development desktop. Minio is an S3 compatible storage server. So S3 is the stuff that the AWS actually uses for its own blob storage kind of thing, and Minio is a thing that we can run locally. One of our kind of development goals is that we want the whole thing to be able to run on our own laptop. All the services it requires, we want to have it available in a laptop for the developer. So that's why we use Minio here. I'm not sure we might actually use Minio in production too, because what Minio has is encryption for the data, and it might be something that our own NAS, which also has an S3 interface, don't provide. So we might actually need to use Minio as also in the production environment. One thing about, we are not doing this in the cloud, we are doing this completely on premise, which kind of sets certain requirements what we need to do. Because if we would go in the cloud, then the things might be a little bit different, but we are doing this on premise because things what we want to store there might be research data, which might have some requirements that we actually need to encrypt it. We need to say that, okay, the research data is actually physically there, certain place. And that needs to be written in the documents that are required when we are getting the funding for the research. So that's why we are even thinking that doing this system and doing it on premise. Okay, then we have this Camunda system. If anybody wants to know about Camunda, ask Asko Soukka. He knows everything. He has a presentation for also Camunda in this conference. Look at that. What the Camunda does is the encoding and captioning workflows. All the technical workflows that happens behind the scenes are handled with Camunda. What Camunda does, it uses BPMN modeling for the processes, where it's excellent and kind of better for workflows than what Plone has. It has excellent support for time, for example. You can say that, okay, this stage should last like 30 days. And after the 30 days, it will do its next step and call the next service and do things. The kind of rant myself, Plone is not very good about time. So do something at particular time. You need to kind of move around and wait the request to happen and then check out the time and do the stuff. But Camunda actually can do stuff at that per certain time. If you have a waiting time for some piece of process that wait here for 30 days, it will then ask the next thing to happen. Also where it's excellent is keeping track of that stuff will actually happen. There is a very clear model and that at this stage, if there's some error that happens, it will capture that error and it allows you to kind of repeat the same thing again and try it again after you have fixed the thing. So you can't miss any stuff that you're actually supposed to happen. What was kind of problem with the RabbitMQ that monitoring it in a enough granular way is a bit difficult to have it certainly know that what happens at what point in a certain way. But with Camunda and the BPMN model, it's very clear that you can track stuff in a very detailed level. And also the volume of messages in the video encoding is not so huge. If you have a messaging problem that requires thousands of messages per second, I wouldn't use Camunda for that. RabbitMQ is perfect for that kind of situation. But if you have a kind of fewer things, but you really need to be a track of things, what's going to happen where, then Camunda is a pretty good choice for that, to actually know that. Then orchestrating the whole thing together is HashiCorp Nomad. That is actually something that we are able to run as ourselves. Other kind of the alternative for that would be Kubernetes. But I'm a sane person and wouldn't want to install Kubernetes by myself. So if somebody installs Kubernetes and maintains it for me, thank you. I'll take that gratefully. But if we need to maintain ourselves, HashiCorp Nomad is something that the human being is still able to somehow maintain and update. So that's for that. And I will not mention it here, but with Nomad, we also use other HashiCorp products like Vault and Consul for some of the other things. But Hashi Stack is pretty nice for things in that nature. And all the ideology of the companies that have simple pieces that do well that one particular thing. And you can pick and choose the pieces that you actually want to use, and they will integrate the encoding jobs. And what the encoding job here is basically just an FFmpeg command line with certain things. This is the source file, these are the parameters, this is the target file which you are going to output. Encoding is nothing that too more complex. FFmpeg command line, poof, there you have your file. That basically happens, and we will control that with the Nomad. And what will do load balancing, like, okay, this server has more space than that server, let's give that the FFmpeg to run. And for the streaming, we will still use the Wolf streaming engine because it's have been very reliable for us for many years, so why to change it if we don't need to? And it also has the S3 API support that we can stream directly through the S3 API. In a process-wise, it goes a little bit like this. This is a little bit rough at the moment, but what we basically do is when we're logging in, we're getting the token from the key cloak for the user, that the user then uses the token to access the upload form in the Plone site through Volto. And when the file has been uploaded, it will get notified. The Camunda will track the process that, okay, this is now the upload stage, and will notify then the Nomad that, okay, here's the file, you need to encode these things, and will keep track on what happens and what stages. And the encoding the resulting files will be pushed to the S3. Oh, the one thing about here to notice is there is this number 7, the upload will go directly through the S3 API. What will happen is that we'll create the kind of pre-signed URL for the upload for the user, so that they can directly upload the data to the storage. One thing in the streaming systems, all the media processing, that you don't want to move the data. You want to keep the movement of data as little as possible. You want to put it somewhere and use it there. Don't then copy it some other place and do stuff there, because when the file starts to be gigabytes, the moving will mean waiting. So put it in one place and do stuff there, and then create the file to another place, and then it stays there, and don't try to do copying too much if that's all possible. And this also means that only the data will just come from the user and goes directly to the storage and nowhere else in the system. We only have kind of links for the data. Okay, the data is now there, and the process that says that, okay, data is now there, and the next piece can process it further. So it goes something like that. And the encoding process is kind of similar. Camunda tells that command, okay, here's the stuff to encode, and it launches the FFmpeg. Nice thing about FFmpeg, it can access stuff directly from HTTP, and it can also push stuff directly to HTTP. So you can basically do the whole encoding with just a single command line. And no need to store the data in any temporary directory and stuff like that. I find that very, very nice. Here's how it would look with the BPMN. We have some kind of waiting state that happens when the form loads. Then we have a upload processing part, and we have the different profiles for the video will happen simultaneously at the same time, which will get separate load balance to different servers, and make the front end know that, okay, the file has been uploaded and it's ready to be watched, stuff like that. And the idea behind this, we want to make it as API driven as possible, so that the Plone is good component there, but we also want to use the system completely through APIs. They sort of need to use the portal directly. One of the use cases is like use these learning management systems, that you could upload the video directly from learning tools of interoperability, which you can use to create kind of tools and call those tools from other systems. Something weird happened to my sound, but I don't care. We have these 20 files here, and we want to upload them directly to the portal. So have the tools to kind of use that, and that will require some kind of API to utilize and to make it easy to do that. One of the problems about these batch loading scenarios is usually the metadata. I don't know if I want to go the tangent on metadata and the difficulties of getting the correct kind of metadata, because when you put the first kind of put the title of the video here, people first put the video 1, and then you will put the description field under it. Then they will copy paste the same video 1 there. It's very difficult to get people to actually fill in some kind of meaningful meta information, even if it's just the title of the video. One thing that YouTube manages to do with is through the money, so that they can get their video some more visibility, that it has some better metadata, and they get it that way. But when we are dealing with kind of lecture videos, we don't have that kind of pressure, that we need to present them, that you need to do a proper metadata. So that's a bit tricky to actually, what kind of metadata do we can get to these videos, and so it's meaningful. One thing what I'm thinking about, what we could do, is kind of use with the lecture recording situation, is we know that, okay, it has been this lecture hall here, and it has happened at this time. Okay, then we could use that information and go to our study management system, which have the information about the lecture and fetch that information and then put it on the metadata for the video file, because we knew that it happened at this point, and hope that they hadn't rescheduled things and stuff like that, but maybe something like that. One of the ideas which I'm also kind of thinking is, what if we have kind of this kind of reverse video embed thing? You can embed video through iframe to other sites and stuff like that. What if it would work in kind of way that you would embed a video upload widget on somewhere, and you could then upload video to that widget, and then it would transform itself as the video player? Would that be cool? Don't know. Happened to occur to me that might be a funny thing to do. Kind of have a embed that also takes the video with it. There's going to be loads of course fun there. I know how the course is going to like that. Okay, this was exactly what I mentioned earlier, using the system to get the metadata for the video. And also, video encoding might not actually be the thing that we want at all. We might not actually be any interested about the video. It might be something completely different. What if we are just interested about the transcription of the data? What was actually said there? We are not interested in anything on what happens in the video, just the text that people actually said there. So what we are now thinking that, okay, we would probably want to do some kind of a more generic way of processing the video. The encoding is kind of one part of it. But other things we would like to do is like this transcription. Do we want to do more editing, like for cutting end of the start of the video, the end of the video, the cut only the middle section for it? That might be on. Do some text extraction from the video. You can see slides from the screen and you extract the data out of it. That's one piece of processing we could do. Or more AI things, we could do post detection for the video. If I'm doing some kind of these movements there, we could get the data out of the video and have it then that as a JSON file as a result. And then it starts to get pretty interesting what we could do, things like that. Kind of more generic processing for the video. Then what kind of how we're doing things, how we're going to do these things, and how we're progressing on this development thing. We have these kind of two things that are in the opposite of each other, which I'm thinking is kind of doing things right or doing the right thing. And this kind of talks also things like technical debt and time to market and stuff like that. So do we want the perfection that actually does everything the most perfect way, but are you sure that it's actually the thing that we are needing to do? Is it the thing that the people are actually requiring? It might be perfectly implemented, documented, everything, but completely wrong thing. So what the value is for the system at that point. So I'm not saying that you should write a crappy code or document badly, but understand kind of way that it's a choice on how are you using your time. Do you want to try to iterate something very fast for people to look at and have an opinion on, is this actually the correct thing that you're trying to do? That has its own value. One of the saying which I'm using is, if you want to do something really good, you actually have to do it twice. You have to do it fast, and then you have to do it well. And you usually can't do them at the same time. So accept it that you will do it first fast and get the feedback from people. Are you actually doing the right thing? And then when you know that, you can probably try to do it well. Unfortunately, quite many things will end up on the first stage that it's been done fast, because then the funding is a little bit different. But if you tell that from the get-go, that okay, this is kind of the point where we try to get the information about this thing, that are we going in the correct direction or not? And accept the things that, okay, it's not going to be perfectly done, it's going to be a little crappy at the places, but we will get the information, get the ball kind of rolling. And what we are doing right now is kind of the proof of concept kind of things. We are not trying to do stuff perfect at the first time, kind of stretching our legs and trying our stuff out. Is this something that our university would actually require and need? And kind of looking a little bit kind of wider view of the whole video thing. So that's kind of the idea which we're having. So thank you. If you have any questions for me? press the button and please talk. Press the button on the right side.
Oh, it worked now. I suppose it's a service that you use in the university.
Excuse me?
The platform, the service that the video service, it's used in the universities.
Yeah.
And did you had challenges during COVID time?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I suppose
the usage went through the roof when the COVID started, when everybody started to do. Yeah.
What problem did you had?
Well, not really problems. We had pretty well kind of prepared technically for the COVID period, and we had also the support structures in place for supporting this video production. So kind of the COVID didn't, in this kind of lecture situations, didn't harm us that much. Okay, students, they feel the pressure because they need to be home and can't see each other and that sort of things. But in our support role, which we are kind of representing, we were technically pretty well prepared for handling all the video stuff.
Mm-hmm. So it was also used before quite often, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any huge peak.
There was increase in usage, but nothing huge.
Nothing huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your talk. You have said that you do automatic captioning of videos. What languages do you do it in, and what do you use for it?
We are now using, first we used a small Finnish company called Sanelius, which had their own custom captioning service, but then they kind of went over and they ported their system to use Azure as their captioning system for that. But the latest thing, which I just found out a couple of days ago, is the OpenAI's Whisper, which looks very good. I'm really thinking about using it. It looks absolutely great. Or even Finnish language.
Finnish, okay.
Yeah, we also do English and Finnish as the two languages, but the Whisper would actually support like 90 languages or something. That would be huge.
Great, thank you very much for the talk. Is there the 30 terabytes of video that you have around? Does that include your renditions, the encoded renditions, or have you figured out a way to like remove those encoded renditions when they're not being used, or?
What we basically do, we encode the different profiles of the video, depending on what the original material is. If it's over 1080p, we'll scale it down to 1080p. If it's under 1080p, we'll just encode the 720p and the profiles under that. And we will always throw away the original version.
Okay. Do you store those forever? What is the lifetime of a rendition?
We have some of the stuff is pretty much forever, which has kind of have the organization's kind of will for the content that's stored under the department, the faculties, and things like that. If it's a personal video, we have a personal side of things, that has a lifetime of only, was it like 6 months after the last login in the system. Then it starts to delete the videos of the person that hasn't logged in. It will first warn with the email that, okay, we're going to delete your files after this time if you don't.
And the reason I'm asking is because I have the same problem with the storage problem, but we were thinking on the side of holding on to our original files and cleaning up renditions, encoded renditions, if the video is not being used.
Yeah, the problem with the original file is that we might actually get something like ProRes